Hi, I'm Carlo. Today, come with me as we look at the domination of fossil fuels in the planet. How are our deep reliance to fossil fuels eventually caused emerging tragedies? Is it still possible to save the planet if we shift to renewable energies right now? Human innovation has gone too far enough that the natural world is continuously transforming into something beyond imaginable from decades ago. From medicine, transportation, gastronomy, machinery and retail, cryptocurrencies, and even artificial intelligence, the social system has reshaped every facet of the world in chase of convenience, money, and power. The bright lights of surface level advancement, however, leaves the human populace phased and blinded that it failed to see the consequences that entailed those pursuits. Anthropogenic activities have marred the ecology and ultimately modified the natural processes and functions in the planet. This in turn resulted in strange occurrences of calamities that instantly and continuously took human possessions and lives as a compensation. From rising temperatures and intense heat waves, melting glaciers and ice sheets, abnormal water level rise, extreme droughts, emerging storms, loss of species, to name a few. Man-made interventions, particularly the use of fossil fuels, have become one of the causes of the biggest crisis the world is facing up to this era, the climate change. According to the United Nations, fossil fuels is accountable for 75% of all global greenhouse gases. Recently, the rate at which Earth is warming is beyond uncontrollable. This brings abnormal changes in weather patterns and disrupts the balance of nature. Even with the rapid evolution of renewable energies, the worldwide demand for fossil fuels is still overwhelming. In the forms of oil, coal, or natural gas, countries relied heavily on the energies obtained from hydrocarbons. As of 2022, still around 80% of the world's energy are sourced from fossil fuels. It argues that natural gas and coal demand stayed nearly flat with oil rebounding close to pre-pandemic levels. For reference, this is down from an 87% share in 2010. At that rate of decline, it would be nearly 200 years before fossil fuel consumption reached zero. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change suggests that two-thirds of all the greenhouse gases is carbon dioxide, and that can be traced from burning of fossil fuels. What's alarming is that its domination of the global energy market is still increasing. United Nations Global Goal 13 recognizes that the climate crisis is a global emergency and must be addressed with no delay to avoid irreversible natural disasters. According to the UN Climate Action, in order to avert the worst impacts of climate change and preserve a livable planet, global temperature increase needs to be limited to that 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Sadly, in the last decade, Earth's surface became warmer by 1.1 degrees Celsius relative to the temperature in the late 19th century, and each of the last 4 decades have been warmer than any previous decade since 1850. That is according to the 2021 publication of the 6th Assessment Report of the IPCC. Additionally, to stick with the 1.5 degrees Celsius Paris Agreement, emissions need to be reduced by 45% by 2030 and reach net zero by 2050, United Nations suggests. To be feasible, this calls for a 360-degree transformation in the resourcing, producing, and utilizing energies. This means cutting greenhouse gases emissions until it reaches a minimum. This year's Conference of Parties held in Dubai concluded with the agreement for the beginning of the end for the fossil fuel era. The ambitious commitments to gradual shift to renewable energies like hydropower, biomass, wind, geothermal, and solar is heavily protested and promoted. Negotiators from nearly 200 countries for the first time recognized the need to transition away from fossil fuels before the end of the decade, according to the United Nations. Contributions from each one is critical, and the governments, corporations, and individuals must swiftly take necessary actions to help in addressing climate change. Without urgency, the future may not be brighter for humanity. Record-breaking disasters, rapid species extinction, gradual biodiversity loss, and other extremes might blanket us, the same as how human acts blanketed the earth with greenhouse gases. Humans rely on the ecosystem for survival, but isn't it ironic that human activities are the biggest contributors to threats to the natural world that critically accelerated its destruction? It's not too late. Committing and actually devoting to shifting to renewable energy without delay is a must to flatten the curve for a brighter, safer, cleaner, and more sustainable future.